With the huge cultural treasure, over 4,000 years of history, Vietnam has a lot of tangible and intangible cultural heritages, which are recognized by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. Originating from deep love for Vietnam's heritage, in 1999, a group of foreign friends established Friends of Vietnam's Heritage, a non-profit organization whose members come from many countries in the world and Vietnam. FVH has been organizing a series of activities such as cultural propaganda, film screening, seminars on Vietnamese traditions and customs in order to honor the unique cultural values of Vietnam.
I've been in Vietnam now for 18 years, and I have been lucky enough to be a member of Vietnam, Friends of Vietnam Heritage for that length of time. It started out with just doing excursions to the small trade and crafts villages and some historical sites and that. And then it has now branched into where we are giving lectures with the various famous authors or photographers or historians. FVH started because people came to Vietnam and to live here, expats mostly, and they wanted to learn more about Vietnam. We try to teach both the expat and some of our Vietnamese friends more about Vietnam's history, its culture.
Until now, FVH has published 10 books on Vietnamese heritage with concise but informative content, including useful knowledge about culture, history, places, and customs. Hello, you are watching Sharing Vietnam, a program from VTC10 NetViet channel. Vietnam is known as the world-famous and impressive tourist destination where a lot of tangible and intangible heritage can be found. Today, please welcome our guest, Miss Stella Ciora, the leader of Friends of Vietnam's Heritage, FVH, to have a closer look about the organization's activity in Vietnam and how to conserve our cultural values. Thank you, Miss Stella, for joining our program today. What is the vision of the group?
Yes, so FVH, which is Friends of Vietnam Heritage, it's actually 20 years old next year, and it was founded in October 1999. And they had the support of the Ministry of Culture, of Professor Le Van Lan, of Hugh Ngop, and other academics that are still alive today and famous. And together they created FVH because it had to have permission as well. So together with all these people, they set up this organisation, which was purely at the start to educate this small group of expats that are working here. And then gradually it's just grown over the years as we've got so many new volunteers and members. And it's very simple to promote the history and knowledge of Vietnam, the culture and traditions, and to keep that alive. Very simple.
What are the motivation to have you and your colleagues to run and maintain the group for such a long time?
Because we all love the culture and history. We love Vietnam, and we want to keep alive these amazing traditions that are unique to Vietnam for thousands, well, goodness knows how many millions or thousands of years the country's been going. And it's a very strong society here and a strong culture, and it's changing very, very fast. So we don't want people to forget, because every country has their own traditions, and here I think it's very important. So we work really hard with people to promote the culture, to keep it alive in people's hearts.
What are the activities that FVH has done to raise people awareness about their Vietnam's heritage?
Yes, every month we have about 6 or 7 events. We have 2 or 3 walks in English, 1 in Japanese, and these walks are not like a normal tour of the city. We do obviously have to do some tourist things, but we try and find personal stories and different things that you can find on the internet, but you might have to search really hard for, or research from books, or talking to people that have lived the life. And so we enhance a normal tour with very personal stories, and the idea is that everyone comes away learning something new, even if you're Vietnamese and you were born here, that you think, wow, I had no idea that existed, or I had no idea that street existed. Every month we have a talk or a lecture with a professor, like we've done Lê Van Lan, Hugh Ngop in the past, Dr. Lum, who's the editor-in-chief of Taizoi Publishers, so he does talks for us. And so we find people that are experts in their field on a topic that is about the history, culture or heritage of Vietnam. So, and we work with them, we do PowerPoint, we do a little exhibition and Q&A, so it's about a couple of hours talk. They're very interesting, people love it. We do that, we do film night once a month at Vietnam Feature Film Studios, which is amazing because that's the big brother of the film industry. So, and we show films made by the studios on a Thursday night once a month. We do an excursion to a village, a handicraft village, but again we try and make it different, where we meet families, we meet the community leaders, and the idea is it's more like a study tour, so you learn something about the village, you learn something new about the culture. And what else? Festivals we go to, workshops as well, art workshop, craft workshops. So we try and do something, 6 or 7 activities every month.
Recently, Friends of Vietnam's Heritage (FVH) organization has cooperated with ZO, a project of social enterprise operating in the field of preservation and development of paper craft villages in Vietnam, held the event ZO Paper Book Binding. The event has attracted many people, especially foreigners who are working and living in Hanoi. Event organizers have combined the ZO pulp with some raw material like bamboo leaves, wormwood leaves, banana stems to make the special ZO paper. Not only did the participants hear about the steps taken to make a paper, the participants were also curiously satisfied as they made their way through the process of making a manual book from the paper selection, cutting and punching.
We came 4 years ago, and we had the good fortune to join Friends of Vietnam Heritage as soon as we arrived. Today I joined Friends of Vietnam Heritage in this project learning about ZO paper, and it was important to me because I would like to know as much as I can about the culture. Things are rapidly changing, the economy and so forth. It's so important to maintain the culture, and I find that Friends of Vietnam Heritage has that focus. I definitely recommend it. It's fun and playful, and we were given very clear instructions and the opportunity to make our own books using the paper, but we also learned about the history of ZO and the 800 years that Vietnam has been making paper.
Với cái mục tiêu là đem giấy gió trở lại với cuộc sống hiện đại, thì là ZO tổ chức rất nhiều các cái workshop cũng như là các cái tour để giúp cho nhiều người biết nhiều hơn đến giấy gió cũng như là sử dụng giấy gió trong cuộc sống hiện tại, là người kết nối. Thì thông qua FVH và thông qua việc tổ chức cái sự kiện lần này thì mình mong muốn là có nhiều người hơn nữa, đặc biệt là người nước ngoài cũng như người Việt Nam biết đến cái dự án ZO Project cũng như là sử dụng được giấy gió nhiều hơn trong cuộc sống hiện tại.
Besides the ZO paper book binding, the series of events are monthly organized by FVH with the various topics such as calligraphy, Vietnamese movies, or talks about famous books by Vietnamese authors, are also warmly welcomed by many people. Talking about Vietnam's heritages, we have tangible and intangible ones. So what difficulty has FVH faced when organizing and approaching tangible heritages in Vietnam?
Yeah, so first of all, just to explain what a tangible heritage is. So a tangible heritage is anything that you can touch. It's physical. It's a building, it's a road, it's a tree, it's a river. And obviously Hanoi is full of amazing buildings, full of amazing streets and rivers and trees, etc. So part of FEH is to keep alive the history, the stories of the tangible heritages. So every building has a story, every tree has a story, every river has a story throughout its life. And so with our talks and our walks, we focus on certain areas of Hanoi that may be architecture or the story of a building, etc. One of the biggest difficulties at the moment, I would say, is that a lot of the tangible heritages are going just through over time. You know, they have to be repaired or they get pulled down or streets widen. The city is changing so much that people's lifestyles are changing, so the city has to adapt with the new life here. And as a result, some of the tangible heritages go. So we are faced, when we do a walk, for example, 5 years later, that building may have gone. So we have to change our walk, for example. So we get around it by talking about what used to be there and showing old pictures. So we talk about the memories of it, even if people can't see it. We have one problem at the moment. We're rewriting the book for Westlake, because that has to probably be one area in Hanoi that has changed so enormously. So after 10 years, I think the book has been updated a couple of times. It is very out of date. So we're redoing it because the Westlake area has changed so much, for example. So that gives an example. And we try and do our best to keep alive the tangible heritages by giving people the knowledge of what things used to be like and instilling in them a love for what we have at the moment so that they come back and they learn more themselves.
So what about the difficulty and troubles you face when you approach the intangible ones?
Intangible ones is stuff you can't touch. So it's the things like the culture, the traditions, the music, the handicrafts, the things like the worship, Buddhism, Taoism, Mother Goddess, for example. And I'm not an expert, but through the work that we've done through FEH, I would say that the intangible ones are easier to keep alive, because once a tangible heritage is gone, you can't get it back. It's gone. You can rebuild it, but it's never the same. But if you have an intangible heritage, you can get it back. And there's still so many intangible heritages in Vietnam. So we've worked with Professor Nguyen Chi Ben, who's one of the experts on Mother Goddess worship. So everyone is interested in Mother Goddess worship. And so we go on many excursions and there's a Lengdom ceremony or a Mother Goddess worship temple. Everyone is interested in it. So, and the kachu and the music and the dance and the costumes. So what we do is we work with authors and professors that are experts in it, and we have talks. And we introduce people to the intangible heritages. Even if they've gone, we still talk about them because we know we can get them back. So I would say intangible heritages are easier to keep alive.
As you have said, Vietnam's heritages seem to be faded in busy life nowadays. So what does the FEH do to support the author and artists in Vietnam as well as conserve the heritages?
So we've got a membership over 1,000 people. We maintain this detailed program every month. Apart from the summer, we don't do anything. And we just we vary everything. We do our walks, talks, excursions, lectures. And there's actually more and more Vietnamese that are joining our organisation now, and we feel that that's the target audience in a way, because the Vietnamese your nation needs to keep alive your own traditions. And we're really, really happy and pleased that so many younger people are joining FEH that have a really deep knowledge about the culture. And I would also say that despite the changes in Hanoi and Vietnam, the traditions are still being maintained.
Thank you for all of your sharing today on this interesting topic. We hope that you and the FEH have more activity on heritages in Vietnam. That is the end of our program today. If you have any comment or share, please mail us through sharingvietnam@netvietv.net. Thank you.